Good afternoon. This is Jason Dean coming at you. So this is a little bit of a different thing. I've been watching this Video Dave. He's a new YouTube guy. Well, he's been on for a few years, but I just discovered him last week, and he's primarily a movie reviewer guy. He's really cool. He does lots of reviews. He's got an amazing collection of movies, especially when it comes to like his Criterion collection. But he's been doing these videos also with his wife, where he does these vlogs where they basically talk about everyday life for them, and then movies that they're watching, TV shows they're watching, and just their normal kind of human, endeavors. And it's really cool, and I find it really entertaining. It's fun, and they also talk a lot about movies, obviously, and they talk about different TV shows, how they watch them. They talk about different streaming platforms and all these things. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of cool. And then there's things of them just going shopping, going to concerts. It's kind of interesting. I've never done this before. This is like a new thing, the video vlog. So I guess this is my first time at doing it. And I'm just going to basically record somewhat most of my day here. This is Thanksgiving Eve. It is 3:36, and I'm on my way down to Rockland, Maine, to do a radio interview on WRFR, which is a local radio show. I've done a handful of radio show interviews. It would be nice to do. I'd love to do more and more of those kinds of shows, but I actually really enjoy it. I never really feel really confident as far as like being a guest, just because trying to articulate things, but I feel like I've gotten better at it. And the main thing is I love to talk about movies and music and all those kinds of things. So usually if I ever do interviews for different stations, radios, I've done shows for like some radio stations and some podcasts, and whenever I do that stuff, it's fun because you get to just hang out and talk about the things you love and things that inspire you. And it's about 3:30, so I'm going to head on down to Rockland. Rockland, Maine is about 35 minutes or so from my house here in Northport. Pretty gray, overcast day. It's Thanksgiving Eve, and very warm out, unseasonably warm. So this will be a little fun experiment. I've lived in this part of Maine for quite a few years, close to almost going on over 15 years, probably getting close to 20 years. I bought this little house many, many years ago in my early 30s, and I got after college I went back and forth for a long time, and then I moved to Maine eventually. My folks live up here, and then I ended up buying a little piece of land in Swanville, which is not too far from here. And then I used that as a little bit of an investment to to maybe get a place on my own, and eventually I did. The stock market it was a different universe back then with taxes and everything. So I ended up buying this little house shortly after I had this property, which was I had the property in Swanville for maybe 3 years or something like that, and sat on it, and then I sold it, and then I got this little house that I have now right in Northport. So I've lived in this area for a very long time. So I don't feel like I grew up in New York, of course, but I don't feel like a transplant anymore. I feel like I've been here long enough that it's past the I always think that term probably wears off after the 10-year mark. So yeah, on my way down to Rockland here, and I'm gonna stop at the store, good old Wentworth, which is not the best place. It's a quick and easy in and out place for, if you want to just get convenient food or convenient stuff, but it's not a place to do shopping. So pull over here and get maybe a little slice of pizza or something for the road. Wentworth it's kind of a dangerous place. I don't buy like groceries here really. I buy like little snacks or like little things, because you got to really be careful of like dates on food, like fish. Forget about buying fish or forget about buying meat. It's really bad with that. It's really bad. Things get outdated all the time, so I will try to safely buy a piece of pizza. So yeah, survived Wentworth, got a slice of pizza on my way down to Rockland. It's Thanksgiving Eve, so yeah, there's stuff going on. I think I'm going to go down, hang out with some friends after the show. I'll be down in Rockland, so I think we're going to meet up, do something fun, hopefully. Maybe go out, get some beers. And there was a big show tonight in Rockland. A couple of really great bands. One real great band, especially. I was thinking about going, but the tickets were like $30, and I'm like, which I understand because I talked to a friend about that tonight, or actually about that earlier today, and it's tough because I've done shows too where you're playing at like a nice theater, and there might be you might be on the bill with some other bands, or you might be on a bill like opening up for a pretty well-known band, and it's great to play at a really beautiful venue with a nice sound system, the whole shebang. Because a lot of times locally gigs are like bars, clubs, some nicer places, some not so great places, but usually it's pretty decent. But when you get a chance to do a gig like it's a concert, it's pretty nice. So, and typically when it's at a theater, they're going to charge because, it does entail, like, they got a lot of mouths to feed. They got to run the sound. They got to employ the sound guy. They got to pay the stage people. They got to pay the bands and people working there. So, I get what it is. But generally, it's like, it's a lot more than I would normally pay for a show. But it is what it is. And then tomorrow is, so I'll probably go out and meet up with a couple of friends after the show, and I'll hopefully get some drinks or something, maybe get some food or something. And then tomorrow is of course Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving for me is just, it's pretty mellow. It's great. I always love Thanksgiving. I'll do a Thanksgiving special tomorrow for the channel. With seasonal movies, there's not a whole lot of movies tied to Thanksgiving. Obviously, with Halloween and Christmas, there's a shit ton of movies tied to those things. Thanksgiving is only, I can only think of a few, but it's always tied to, for me, Thanksgiving is always tied to my favorite movie of all time, and that is The Godfather. And I have so many memories of growing up watching that movie. So, and there's a couple other movies too, and so I'll do a show in the morning, probably tomorrow morning, and then get it done and get it set up and upload it. Because I like to do holiday movies or holiday videos for the channel, I like to set them up on the day of. I don't like to usually wait. So, and then tomorrow I'll just go over my folks. I'll do a video, like I said, I'll do a video in the morning, or maybe try to get some practicing in, and then go over my folks in the afternoon. And then we usually eat a big, we usually have a huge meal, like around 4:30, 4 o'clock. Big giant, turkey dinner. It's always awesome. Typically, the big thing that we do is we always watch a shit ton of movies. So I went to Opera House Video. Of course, everybody knows Opera House Video, or you should. And I got a bunch of movies there. So, kind of looking forward to some of the movies that I'm going to be watching. It's funny because most of the time on my own, when I'm home, I usually watch a movie every night, but I typically watch, trashy exploitation movies. I mean, I watch, quote unquote normal movies all the time too, but I mostly watch like trashy exploitation movies because I just love them. They're just so fun and they're crazy. It's just such a great, escape from reality. It's just great. So I typically watch those movies all the time. And then when I go over my folks to watch movies, I typically watch, normal movies, if you will. Hollywood, bigger budget Hollywood movies. And again, I love those, but I don't buy them as much. I still buy them, but I mostly when I do go out to buy movies, I try to focus on exploitation movies and just, try to find obscure, weird shit all the time. But, so tomorrow I got 4 movies, and it's going to be a little bit of a craziness because sometimes we'll watch 2 or 3 movies in one sitting, and then we'll have dinner. And we usually eat a little bit earlier on Thanksgiving. So, and then the movies are due back, I think, on Friday. So I'll have to crunch a little bit for 2 days because I'm not going to watch any of them before tomorrow. The 4 movies I got the new, or the latest, or the last installment for the Mission Impossible movies. So, kind of looking forward to that. I am a big fan of the franchise. I actually love those movies quite a bit. I think it's pretty consistent. Kind of looking forward to I think it's called Dead Reckoning Part 2. And I really liked the one before Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is basically one movie in 2 parts. And supposedly this one is the last one for the entire franchise. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I do love the Mission Impossible movies. I do, actually. I'm a huge fan of those. And then the other movies I got the new Naked Gun remake with Leslie Nielsen and Pamela Anderson, which I'm actually really super excited to see. I haven't seen it, and I just saw it yesterday on the shelf. So very much looking forward to checking that out. I like Leslie Nielsen. I think he's really great. He hasn't really done a really good movie in a while, but I think he's very funny, and I do like him as an actor. And I thought the studio's choice to get him to play Leslie Nielsen's character in The Naked Gun was a pretty cool choice, because he's actually a super funny guy, in real life. So, and it looked really, really fucking funny. So, and I haven't seen a good comedy in a while. Kind of in need of a good comedy, if you will. So that'll be fun. That's one choice. Usually when I go over my folks, I usually bring a handful of movies, because I don't know what they're going to be into and whatnot, and maybe they will be into something, or maybe they won't. So I like to do the choice options, And sometimes we'll just watch whatever I bring over, which is great too. And then what else did I get? I also got, I can't even remember right now. Yeah, I can't even remember. So they'll probably come back to me. But other than that, we'll be watching movies, hanging out, eating a lot of food, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I can't even remember the two other movies I got. Maybe it will probably come to me later. So, yeah, and in today's show, I'm going to be on Peter Patton's show on WRFR. And I've done his show before. It's great, you know. There's not a whole lot of people that listen to WRFR, but I still think it's good. I'm trying to do this show. Well, I'm going to try to make a little bit more of the focus on the show that I have coming up with Travis Lloyd in December next month on the 19th. I've been doing, the show is on December 19th at Hey Sailor with Travis Lloyd, who is just I think an amazing electronic artist. And I started doing promotion stuff for it a few days ago. I did an event page. I wanted to try to get a little bit of a jump start on it because I think he's really, really talented. I think more people need to really listen to his music and check it out. Extremely talented guy, and I love his new record. So I've been wanting to try to get the ball rolling a little bit earlier. So I put up an event page yesterday, Facebook event page. It's going to be at Hey Sailor, so I put that up. And then I also did, I found one of, Travis has been putting up these live videos. Well, one thing with Travis, he doesn't have any social media presence, which I get, you know, but it's a little bit harder sometimes when a person doesn't really, isn't online for things, but I get it because usually social media, you know, kind of sucks. But so he does have a YouTube channel, which is actually really great, and it's not a lot of stuff on it, but the videos he has on his YouTube channel are just awesome. And they're basically just videos of him, and I think he just started the YouTube channel. He basically uploaded these live performances of him performing these songs from his new record that just came out a few weeks ago called Ferns. And it's just him playing these songs live, and it's incredible. So I took one of the videos from that channel and uploaded it to Facebook and did a big kind of blurb, a little bit of a press kind of junket thing around it to also help for promotion. So I did that yesterday too, and then I shared it to a bunch of pages and things. And since I did that, I noticed the show has gotten a lot of traction, and a lot of people have been checking out that video. So that's been really cool. So I've been sending it around and then sharing that page. I haven't done so much with the event page yet, but I'm going to. But it's up, and there's a few people saying they're interested. But in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start doing a lot more promotion for it and pushing it more and more. And then I got to also start doing some promotion for it on Instagram, which I don't have anything up yet. So that's one good thing about social media is it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's really helpful. But you can do all kinds of promotional things for events that you're maybe a part of, or you're involved in, or featured in, or whatever. You can do all of these promotional events, for virtually for free, and you can really, whether or not people actually come is different, but you can reach a shit ton of people, at the click of a button. And if you do it, and you do it in a way that is not, maybe annoying, but if you do it in a way where people can see it and it's visible, so it's pretty helpful, And I think with with Travis, doing these, putting since the timing of him just putting out this record, that's really good. I think that's a really good. It's good timing for the show because it will be, roughly 3 or 4 weeks after the records come out. Originally, we were going to do the show earlier, but we had to push it up because there was a scheduling conflict. So originally, it was going to come out right around his the actual release because it's been online for a few weeks or so. I think like 3 weeks now. I can't believe how warm it is today. It's super warm. Feels like it's in the 60s. It's had an interesting thing too as of late. Every now and then, you discover a band or an artist and you get totally obsessed, or you check it out for a while and then you forget about it, or you just can't stop listening to it. I've been doing that lately with Travis. Can't get enough of his shit. I listened to a bunch of those videos when I found his YouTube channel. Somebody had told me about them, and I found all these videos and I checked them, listened to them a bunch of times last night, and then I listened to them all again this morning. I listened to his studio record and just brilliant stuff. And then I think it was last week I discovered, I'm not going to mention names, but plus I kind of forget his name offhand, but I discovered this really, really fantastic drummer on Instagram, and he's kind of this serious guy, a serious Instagram drummer, if you want to call it that, but he's got endorsement deals from all kinds of drum companies, and and he's able to make a living, I think, off of his channel or his page, and then he's endorsed, but then he teaches primarily, and he's a pretty young guy. But this guy is such a phenomenal, some of his videos are so phenomenal. I just came across him, again, a few weeks ago on Instagram, and he's got these really good, high-quality short videos of him playing these really cool grooves, basically. And his stuff really reminds me of, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's kind of like a weird hybrid, or maybe not a weird hybrid, but kind of a hybrid of, Mike Clark and Dennis Chambers. And Mike Clark is, one of my all-time favorite drummers. He's right up there with Tony Williams is my all-time favorite drummer, and Mike Clark is right behind him. I mean, and Mike Clark was such a pioneer in the world of funk music. He created this really unique style, which some people refer to it, and I kind of do too, as this kind of linear style where there's a lot of beat displacement and a lot of real interesting kind of syncopated rhythms, not where you normally hear where the one is in say a rock groove. It's moved around. There's this kind of flowing motion to it, and it's very jazz influenced also. And so Mike Clark really kind of, I think, is one of the guys that kind of started that style, which is such a unique style. And Dennis Chambers also, really took a lot from Mike Clark, I think, and did a lot of other new things with it in a real like in a more like heavy fusion context. Blending elements of jazz, funk, Latin music, odd meters, but very similar in styles. And this new guy, I feel like, has taken that kind of style and kind of like moved it even further forward. Really interesting linear, interesting linear approach to playing these grooves. Super funky. And the thing about his playing that I love is just that it has this supernatural kind of organic vibe, and it feels so like there's it's like pouring a glass of water or something. Like there's just, everything has this like real continuous flow, and everything feels really relaxed, even if he's playing these like kind of intense rhythms or solos, but it just has this very relaxed feel and very unique, very very original. But it really reminds me of like if you took some of this pioneering things that Mike Clark has done and threw it in a blender with Dennis Chambers and maybe like Steve Gadd or somebody, and you would kind of get this new kind of sound. He's got a very modern sound too. And all the videos on his channel are, they're short because it's Instagram. But the quality of them is really good. The audio is really good. His drum sound is absolutely incredible. Amazing. But it's kind of funny, but all of the videos are just him playing drums. Like there's a few videos of him playing with like in a band context. But not really. Most of them are just him like vamping an idea, coming up with a groove. Sometimes there's some like instructional videos and what have you, and it's great. It's really really good. The quality is like, again, the thing that's most impressive about this guy's page is the quality. Like the quality is so good. Like he has it mic'd up really well. The drums sound beautiful. They're full. They're lush. They're dynamic, funky as hell, and really he has this very futurist sound too. Really innovative stuff too. So I'd been watching his videos and I wanted to like try to like figure out some of the shit he's doing, because some of the shit is like really intricate and fascinating. So I was like, today I looked him up more online to see if he's got like instructional videos, like clinic videos, just more things to kind of like see how he's like putting together all of these interesting rhythms. And I found I found a YouTube channel that he has, and there's quite a few videos like of him on YouTube, but they're all like generally really short videos. And I was kind of like disappointed that there wasn't more, but then I came across this one video of him doing this clinic, and it's an hour. And so I was like, awesome, okay, maybe I can get some kind of insight in how he's playing this shit and everything. So I checked out this video, and I have to honestly say I was really kind of disappointed with the video, like, and the clinic that he put on. And granted, he says in the video too, he's never done. It was like his first clinic. This video was done 3 years ago, and he was saying how he was nervous. Totally get that. But this guy's a monster player, So I figured it's going to be awesome anyway. But the video, the clinic, like he starts off the clinic basically playing along with these like backing tracks. There's no live band. He's just like playing along with like these backing tracks of like sequence tunes, and they don't the sequence tunes don't sound like they're actual players. They sound like it's, Ableton or GarageBand or I don't know, something like it's all processed kind of stuff. And he's like playing through like 3 or 4 of these tracks, and then he does like this solo, and then he kind of gets into more of the clinic thing, like explaining like his technique, who he is, what he's into, and all like the more technical stuff I've been wanting to hear. And it's weird because I don't like, I almost hate saying this because I'm not knocking this guy at all, because he's an incredible player. I mean, he's got more technique than I'll ever have in my entire life. But I honestly, like the play along videos that he was doing, I didn't like those. I didn't like his sound. I didn't like how he played in the videos. I didn't like how I didn't like the feel of the tunes. I didn't think it was funky. I don't know. It was just like felt very, it just felt like there was no groove. It just felt like there was no heartbeat or no pulse to it. And it just didn't have any flavor to it, to me. I don't know. And I didn't like the tunes that he picked to play along. And then it was just so weird because I've like only seen this guy play in the context of him just playing solo. And he's incredible. But when I saw videos, saw this video of him playing in the context of where he's like playing with a band, but they're not really a band, but playing songs, he played so differently, and I don't know, I didn't really dig it. It was really weird. So I found myself actually fast forwarding through those videos. Or skipping through, not fast forwarding, dating myself. So, which was weird. And then I got to the clinic part, and it was kind of interesting, the stuff he was talking about. And then he said some other things in the video that I was like kind of surprised by. And again, I'm an asshole, my taste is up my ass, but he said some things in the clinic that I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't know if this is something I'd be telling my students. And so what he was basically talking about was, what every musician out there deals with, where, practicing, working on, getting a regimen together of practicing and then being conscious and aware of like who you're practicing, what you're practicing, trying to be consistent, trying to, build your technique, your chops, all those things. And then also, trying to get work as a musician, and then making that transition from like the practice space, where you're sitting in the practice space working on different styles of music and studying and all these things, whether you're going to a college or you're studying privately or you're working on stuff on your own, whatever it is. And then when it comes down to it, then you got to like, the main thing is like playing with people, like playing in a band or playing like what it's like to play with people, because I like to think at the end of the day that's why people do it, because it's, when you see a good band, it's like a good conversation, I mean, that's what I really think at the end of the day, why we all try to do this crazy shit. And I just think it's like a big, giant conversational piece. A really good song, or whatever it is. And so he was talking about how when he was in school, he went to a really good music college, and most of the students that, he was around, they were, once they got out of school, they were going to try to like become gigging musicians. And a lot of their teachers and professors were saying, well, once you're a gigging musician and you're playing with a lot of bands, you don't necessarily have a lot of time to practice. So take advantage of the time you have now before you make that transition. And this guy was saying, well, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to keep that practice regimen and try to make a living teaching, but yet having the time and the luxury to be able to still practice. He didn't want to have to stop that, which I get, and that's amazing. But he didn't want to become like, quote unquote, a regular gigging musician, because it would take away from time of practicing. And so he made that decision, which is a pretty unique decision. You don't really hear too many people say that. So it's kind of interesting. And one of the things that he said was, as like an example, it was something that happened to him a lot, where he would play these licks or practice all this time, and he was like using as an example, like he would be practicing a lot to do all of these things, from a technical standpoint. And then he said that there were many situations where he would go to the bandstand and play, like have a gig somewhere, and then he would try to play those licks that he's been practicing at the bandstand, and he said he could not, he would end up dropping the ball, and it would be just kind of a train wreck. And he was talking about this one application in learning called recall, where he wanted to be in a place where you can recall anything you're practicing at the bandstand, and you can just play everything that you want to consciously. And it was interesting because, and he was saying, like, he wants to get to the point of any idea he has, he can just play it, whatever it is. And I just thought it was kind of weird the way he framed it, because I've always thought, like, and things that I've always been taught, and again, this guy has like a billion more chops than I will ever have in my life, but I was always under the impression, like, in my dealing with playing with musicians, and especially when it's music that has a lot of improv, is that it's reactionary. There's like a blank slate, and you're trying to like focus on whatever. The key is just listening what's going on, and then you're reacting, and you're not trying to think consciously. Because I've always been under the impression that, like, when you start thinking consciously of like, oh, I got to play this lick or play this idea, that automatically is going to just get in the way of the process, instead of like trying to just listen to what's going on, melodically, rhythmically, like what the bass player is saying, what the horn player is saying, and playing off of that and trying to enhance that, but not coming to it with, oh, I have to play this lick or this groove that I've been working for hours on in the practice shed and play it here. I just feel like, doesn't that like cancel? It feels like that. Wouldn't that cancel that out? It was just odd, very, very odd. But again, what do I know? But it was interesting, and watching that video today, like especially with the clinic video where he was doing all these play along videos, I really was like, man, I preferred, not to sound like an asshole, but I really preferred watching his Instagram videos more than his performance at the clinic, because he was an entirely different player, more musical, but he wasn't. It's so weird because he doesn't play with other musicians in these videos. I know he does, but it was just a very strange kind of feeling that I had watching that video. Yeah, very strange. Anyway, I'm going to take a little pit stop here and eat a little food, and then I'm going to be getting to the studio, and then I'm going to record the video with Peter Patton and continue onward. Well, we've made it to Gay Street. I'm about to go inside here for the WRFR show. And we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, peace.